Hello, everybody. Andrew Feel here. I appreciate the support from the last video. I've got a lot to cover, so let's get into it. Starting with the postmaster situation and the USPS. Mail-in voting. The Postmaster General said the U.S. Postal Service is suspending operational changes until after the election amid concerns of handling the mail-in voting. So it's probably because Congress was saying it was going to investigate, but um, that doesn't mean that he's going to reverse what he did. That means he's just going to stop what he was doing, like not continue it. So it's not really enough. The Postmaster General testified in the Senate, of course, not in the House. The House passed a bill that would give $25 billion to the Postal Service, and it would block the changes that Democrats fear could hinder ballots and stop mail-in ballots from being recorded. But it's unlikely to pass in the Senate because it's Republican controlled, and the Republicans want voter suppression. Toilets and urinals can release inhalable coronavirus particles into the air, people say. So it'd be smart to wear masks in especially public restrooms. The World Health Organization warned that young people are becoming the primary drivers of spreading the coronavirus, and that makes sense because young people are our generation is the generation that's least likely to care about the coronavirus and the consequences from it. So that didn't surprise me. Um, but that also means that a lot more young people are being sick now, and that also makes sense with going back to school. Going along with that, Notre Dame suspended in-person classes after coronavirus cases surged following off-campus parties. Michigan State University followed suit, and so did North Carolina State going virtual. Um, at, at least 19 states reported COVID cases at colleges, and thousands of students had to quarantine amid the coronavirus outbreaks. Students still are having large gatherings without safety measures, which is not a good sign to see. But it's kind of how college usually goes, so it's not an excuse. People should be cautious and know the consequences that they could end up going virtual and lose that privilege if they're not careful. Um, the college that I was going to go to, University of Iowa, I think I made the right choice in switching to College DuPage because although there were some aspects that I would have liked with University of Iowa, excuse me, and the in-person aspect, I think it's a lot safer to go virtual with coronavirus still being a huge problem in the United States. And, you know, because the main problem is like Illinois, right? Illinois was handled pretty well for a long time. It's growing a little bit now, but it was handled very well for a long time. And the problem with Illinois schools is it'll take people from Texas, Florida, California, like, the hotspots. So just because Illinois was safe before doesn't mean that it's going to be safe for Illinois colleges, and that goes for every college everywhere. Is that people coming in from states that are hard hit could mean that, colleges could face having to go virtual and there being a lot of cases, so that's why it's so important. Well, with the University of Iowa, there was a story where the University of Iowa actually apologized because it was so awful. COVID-19 positive student detailed an awful quarantine experience. I read about it, and it is awful. They actually went to the point of telling the student and his roommate not to say that he had coronavirus and like keep it a secret and not tell people he encountered. So, and it doesn't seem like University of Iowa is testing at all. So they said they'd have a plan, but they lied. And University of Iowa is expensive, especially for out-of-state students like myself. So I think I made the right call in not going to University of Iowa. And I have friends that are going there, and I hope the best for them. I hope they're being safe. Um, and everyone who's going to universities, some universities are handling this a lot better than others with wearing masks inside and not allowing gatherings and all these restrictions and everything, right? but University of Iowa sadly isn't one of them, and there's a lot of universities like University of Iowa right now. So I hope that especially those in those type of schools are being as safe as they can be, because there could be a lot of silent spreaders there right now. Anderson Cooper thrashed the MyPillow CEO after he was trying to tout a fake coronavirus drug, which is great. Wuhan, China. Okay, I don't believe anything that China said about the coronavirus. I don't believe that they contained it. If you look at their statistics, they say that there's been only 80,000 cases in the country of coronavirus, and we're at almost 6 million. It's total bullcrap. And I think they continued it recently because Wuhan, China, the city which was ground zero for the coronavirus pandemic, is now seemingly over the virus with a water park filled with thousands without social distancing or masks. And even if they somehow got Wuhan, China, the source of coronavirus, to be clear, it would be a horrible idea to allow a water park with thousands without social distancing, because then it could just come back from somewhere. So that was stupid. Um, More than 90% of cases in Australia's second wave were linked to two hotels. I don't know why people would want to go to a hotel right now. That seems like a very bad idea. Um, Polls found that there's a very hard divide on whether students should go back to school in person or online, and whether professional sports should come back. It was like around 50-50 on both of the polls. LA, Los Angeles is facing a big problem because there's a lot of social media influencers there that are having these huge parties, and that's causing a spread of coronavirus because not only are they huge parties, but they're with a bunch of teenagers who are stupid and they're not social distancing, wearing masks, caring about the coronavirus, and it seems to be a big problem in LA. Well, Bryce Hall had a huge party without social distancing, and the mayor of LA shut off the utility, lights, water, everything. And I think that's a great idea. And I think they should do that to every celebrity that has those coronavirus parties, and to the Hype House or whatever. So I think that's a great idea. I think they should also be fined and possibly arrested if they continue. That's what I would say, because they're disrespectful and they don't care about the others around them. So it should end up being a crime. But that's just my opinion. There was a situation with Goodyear, the tire company, because they supposedly had this zero tolerance policy, excuse me, um, which ended up not being true. But it said that it allowed Black Lives Matter attire, but not MAGA or All Lives or Blue Lives Matter. A Goodyear employee called it discriminatory. Trump was saying not to buy Goodyear tires and said, radical left Democrats and all this. And then Goodyear responded saying the visual was not created by Goodyear and they have no tolerance for harassment, discrimination, and they asked associates from political campaigning, like wearing any political affiliation at all. I have not watched that much of the NBA. It seems like it's really good right now. But I do appreciate that how much the NBA and NHL have done to take a social stance for Black Lives Matter. The NHL did a pretty good job with the Matt Dumba talking about Black Lives Matter, and they I think had that on the teleprompter, or not the I forget what it's called, the the thing above the rink. I lost the word for it, but I think they have it on there, and that's good. But the NBA seemed to be doing a step further because they have it right in center court, I saw, and they allowed with players' jerseys to write stuff on the back. I think some people wrote like Unity, and it was really cool. So I think that's a great idea as well. Um, with the NHL playoffs, I think I kind of burned myself out because with the qualifiers when there was 24 teams, I was trying to follow everything with that, and that was just too much. I should have just followed a little bit and then kept following the Blackhawks. So with the second round, besides the Blackhawks, I wasn't following that much, and now it's down to 8 teams, and I kind of would want Vegas to win for Robin Leonard, and also because they were so good against us. So I think they would deserve to win from that. Them or Colorado would probably be two teams I think deserve to win. Um, but yeah, it's interesting to see, and I saw Vegas destroyed Vancouver, so and Robin Leonard shut them out, so that was pretty cool. Um, okay, this week marked the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, guaranteeing women the right to vote, and that's something that we need to remember and cherish. Former Trump advisor Steve Bannon and three others were arrested and charged with fraud over the border water. Oh my gosh, border wall fundraising campaign. Sorry about that. Because they pocketed money from hundreds of thousands of Trump supporters. And if the Trump supporters didn't feel stupid before, they really should now, because they just got their money taken away um, illegally. And he was arrested on a 150-foot yacht. So that tells you about where he's spending his money. Bannon was freed on bail. He just bought it himself out. Bannon became the 10th Trump associate to be charged with a crime. That's 10. Double digits. That's really insane. They were saying like if one or two Trump associates, you know that's pretty bad, but when everyone around you is getting arrested, you know that he's a criminal. Kellyanne Kanye is leaving the White House at the end of the month. That's a big deal. He was one of his biggest, her biggest. She was one of his biggest like supporters and correspondents and everything like that. So that was a big deal. She cited the need to focus on her family, or she just sees that the ship is sinking. Florida is going to release 750 million genetically modified mosquitoes in the Florida Keys. It seemed like they're doing that, I think, to control the offspring because they're trying to kill off the mosquitoes and seeing if that would work. With no more mosquitoes, that would be a great thing. On the second night of the Democratic National Convention, former President Jimmy Carter gave his support for Joe Biden. It started with a unifying message for America, like in the beginning of the program. Sally Yates spoke. The former acting U.S. Attorney General was fired by Trump for opposing a travel ban. Democratic National Committee chairman spoke along with Representative Benny Thompson and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, nominating speeches for Senator Bernie Sanders, which was pretty confusing. I think they should have explained that a bit better. But it was held by Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, gave a Sanders speech. Former President Bill Clinton was speaker, and he bashed Trump pretty well, I'd say. He was the 2004 presidential nominee. Former Secretary of State John Kerry spoke, and then finished off with Joe Biden. She spoke a bit earlier, along with Colin Powell, and there was a state roll call to add up a national delegate count for the nominee, and it was very stupid, I think, in my opinion, that they had ads play over some of the states' vote count. They should have made time for ads, but instead, like certain states, like I think Illinois and Indiana, like were just rolled over, which I think is really stupid. But Joe Biden officially won the votes to become the Democratic nominee. Um, on the third night of the Democratic National Convention, New Mexico's Governor Michelle Grisham talked on coronavirus and climate change. They talked about coronavirus a lot, which they should have. Uh, Kamala Harris touched on being able to vote, which is very important, and I like that message that they were saying to text this number. I think it was 30330 at vote, and it'll tell you like how you can vote in the election, which is very powerful. Hillary Clinton spoke, Senator Elizabeth Warren, and former Labor Secretary Hilda Solis. Speaker Nancy Pelosi had a great speech, but President Obama had the best speech of the night. He, mentioned Trump before, but in this speech he really went after him, and he was saying how he did such a poor job and how, he trusts Joe Biden a lot, being his running mate for 8 years, vice president, and it was a very powerful speech. Senator Kamala Harris accepted her vice president nomination. She had a great speech on racism and other things. The night 4 started with California Governor Gavin Newsom. He had an opening statement. Beto O'Rourke made an appearance, which I think was pretty good. Andrew Yang had a pretty short speech, but I'm glad he was in there as well. Senator Chris Coons of Delaware spoke. At Atlanta, Georgia Mayor Keisha Bottom spoke. Representative Deb Haaland, from a Democrat from New Mexico, spoke. Sarah Cooper, which was pretty cool, spoke on the importance of voting. First, she was doing like a mimic of Trump, and then she spoke in a real voice about how many Americans need to vote and how we need to be able to vote safely and have our votes counted for. Senator Cory Booker and Senator Tammy Duckworth of my state spoke, and Duckworth and Mayor Pete Buttigieg talked on the military, which was very good speeches. Michael Bloomberg actually surprised me. I didn't think his speech was going to be that good, but it was. He compared the two candidates, and Steph Curry was seen. I don't know, that wasn't that good of a part. It was just him and his wife and his children. His wife was doing most of the talking. He didn't really say anything. And they were like talking with their kids, which was, I mean, it was kind of cool, but it wasn't that good, in my opinion. Joe Biden ended the Democratic National Convention with a fantastic speech. He didn't stutter, and he was clear and concise, talking about everything. It would be something to watch, I would say. I would link it if I was able to, but I'm not, unfortunately. The Republican National Convention starts tonight. It's going to be awful, I'm guessing, but I think it's not virtual. I don't even think they didn't even say till the last minute where it's going to be held. And Mitch McConnell, I don't think is going to make it. Like a lot of the speakers is his own family, which is kind of hilarious. So yeah, it's probably going to be awful, but I'm going to check it out just to see how it is. Yeah, probably won't watch it that long, but I'm going to be interested to see what they pull out of their hat. Let's just say that, I guess. That's the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out and stay safe.